Substance abuse and addiction. This is a real big one. We know now that prescription drug use is the #1 drug that kills these days. It used to be that it was the hard drugs, the illicit drugs that created a problem, but now it's the painkillers that are so easy to get from your doctors. And I'd like to talk to you about what the difference is between substance abuse and actually being addicted or dependent on the drug. When a person is abusing a drug, they're using the drug so that they no longer need to deal with some emotions or some feelings that they would rather not have. They like the high that they receive from it. And what happens is they start using it more and more. And with the drug abuse, they're able to stop using it. Their body hasn't gotten to the point where it absolutely craves it anymore. In fact, according to the DSM, it's really about the idea of the failure to fulfill major roles that they might have as a parent, or neglecting their kids, or unable to do their job, maybe calling in sick a lot. Or maybe they're just not present in any of their relationships and they're spending money that they don't really have on this substance. It's something that they're using at times when it's really unsafe, like if they're driving a car, for example. And it's also something that may have something to do with the need for having the persistent or social interpersonal problems that are being exacerbated by this particular use of this substance. When a person actually has a dependence on some substance, they need markedly increased amounts to get the same effect. In fact, they never actually get the same effect as the first time that they had that first high. They're always chasing it. They have a diminished effect with the continued use with the same amount of the substance, which is why they increase it. They'll have withdrawal in terms of feeling the cravings from it if they stop taking it. And if they stop taking it long enough, they're going to start getting the DTs, the tremors that go on with it, and the stomach pains and all the withdrawal symptoms that people go through. The substance is taken in larger amounts over a longer period of time than they first intended it to happen, and they can't stop. They have a persistent desire, but are unsuccessful at stopping. A great deal of time is necessary for this particular activity of seeking the drug, letting go of anything else of any importance in their life. The normal things like being with their friends and their families, being at their jobs, doing what they need to do with any fulfillment that might come from their jobs, things of this nature. And they might even give up the fun things that they enjoy doing before, like sports or dance or doing things with music, any of these other interests that people have. And what needs to understand is why people have these issues. First of all, they might have some genetic vulnerabilities that make the person susceptible to both the addiction and other mental disorders, because a lot of times the two will be happening at the same time. There might be environmental triggers that create a problem, stress or trauma, such as physical, emotional, or sexual abuse. Early exposure to drugs are a common environmental problem. I had a client many years ago when I was working in mental health whose mother actually was a cocaine addict and turned her daughter onto it at the age of 7, if you could believe it. And the brain systems, as I was saying before, respond to reward and stress are affected by the drugs of abuse. And they show the same abnormalities that one would with other mental health disorders. So basically, one needs to think about when the addiction began, because again, the emotional growth and development of the person is going to be stopped at that point. So it's not enough to just get off of the drugs. They need to learn how to interact with people in a way that is age appropriate, which means appropriate boundaries for themselves and with those who are working with them in their lives as well. Now, what one needs to understand why this is such a huge problem today, it's 23.5 million persons aged 12 or older needed treatment for an illicit drug or alcohol abuse program in 2009. This is according to the National Institute of Health Drug Addiction survey that they ran in 2011. So of these, only 2.6 million, 11.2%, who needed treatment received it as a specialized facility. 1.8 million admissions in 2008 for treatment of alcohol and drug abuse to facilities that reported to the state administrative data systems. Alcohol abuse were involved in 41.4% of this treatment, heroin and other opiates 20%. That was the largest percentage for drug-related admissions. I'm sure if we were to do the report again today, it would be much higher, given that opiates and painkillers are the #1 drug abuse today. Methamphetamines accounted for 6.1% of the admissions. And the largest age group for admission were 20 to 29-year-olds at 14.5%. 12 to 17-year-olds were 7.5%, and 18 to 19-year-olds, interestingly enough, were only 4.1% of those admissions. Now, the thing that I'd like to talk to you about regarding these programs is that they're 12-step programs, which reinvigorates the whole idea of the person relying on a higher power. The problem with this is that the person's not taking responsibility for their own life. And in so doing, it's very easy to blame the world for the problems and continue the problem, even if they're not physically taking the drugs or the alcohol any longer. What happens is there's still the whole mindset of the addict, and they're still fighting the urges every day. And this is a problem. With hypnosis, we're able to easily, if you have a person who's capable of helping someone with the appropriate work, first of all, get off of the drug without much, if any, withdrawals. I just did this for a 22-year-old. I'm sorry, she was 24 when she got involved in the drugs, and she was not quite 29 when she came in to see me. And in 2-hour session, she was able to get off of her heroin and have no withdrawals, according to her uncle, who was very much involved in her treatment. And that was a very, very good thing. Again, if you are going to have to go through a withdrawal off of a drug, you do need to have someone with you who is capable of being there to make sure everything is okay, because it is and can be a very unsafe thing to do. So you always want to have someone there present with you, just in case. Well, with hypnosis, as I said, there are very few, if any, withdrawals in this case. She spent the weekend out with her friends and doing appropriate things, and that was really, really good. Then the other problem that I have with the 12-step programs is that they tell the group every time they go to these meetings, hello, my name is Lisa, and I am a drug addict. Well, what are you doing with your unconscious mind when you do that? You're telling your unconscious mind, and reinvigorating it every time you do it, that you're an addict. And that means you're going to have the urges and the behaviors of a drug addict or an alcoholic. And that means that you're never going to be away from this whole idea, this identity, which is quite the opposite of what needs to happen for someone to realize that they can have a life after addiction. I have clients who have been drug-free for years, and frankly, it is quite possible to do it, so long as you get it into your mind. That is a possibility, because after all, it's your unconscious mind that's going to tell you what you're capable of doing, so you may as well tell it what it is you would like and have it work toward that end. So hypnosis is a really good way to go. With drug addictions, one really needs to know that they've been off of the drugs and living a really good life for 1 to 2 years to know that they are really away from the drugs and the addiction. It takes that long just to know that you're free of it. And so any work that you do with anybody should take at least that amount of time, because it takes that long to learn the boundaries. It takes that long to really instill in yourself that, you know, your life is better, more fun and fulfilled without the drugs. So hypnosis is really the way to go in order to let go of drugs as efficiently and effectively, without the side effects of other programs, allowing you to move forward with your life.